Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, December 28th, all the way through to Sunday, January 3rd of 2021. And this week is a really powerful, more positive week in the astrology. We actually have a full moon in the sign of Cancer in a very nice trine with the planet Uranus. What does this mean? This means that we get to integrate some positive change into our lives this week. So it's very exciting. We also have Venus conjunct the South Node, squaring Neptune, activating the energy that was present 2 weeks ago when we had the total solar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius. And so this is a major manifestation point of that eclipse energy. So a powerful week in the astrology, but for the most part, a pleasant week, at least until we get until next week. Next week, things are going to shake up a little bit. But before we get into all of that, I just want to mention for those of you who are new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an astrology forecast. I post a new forecast every Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And also the way that I structure my videos so you know how to utilize this information in the best possible way is that I start always with a general forecast. This lasts 5 to 10 minutes maximum. Don't skip it because this is going to provide an important context for the information that I will be providing in my individual or more individualized forecast for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign so you can get a more holistic understanding of the energy for your week ahead. Your rising sign will be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well. This is going to be more emotional and more internalized as opposed to the externalized energy of your sun and your rising signs. Finally, at the end of each video, I do a short 2 to 3 minute overview of the energy we'll be discussing in next week's forecast. And so if you want to get ahead of the game, make sure you stick around until the end of this video. All right. And so that being said, let's move on to the energy of the general forecast for this week, because this is actually kind of an interesting week and it's more pleasant than a lot of what we've been dealing with. And especially it's more pleasant than a lot of what we're going to be dealing with into the next couple of weeks here. And so I wanted to pull up this little chart image where you can see here that we have the full moon in the sign of Cancer. And so this is breaking us out of the Gemini Sagittarius cycle. And this is the first full moon that we're having that's not an eclipse this winter. And so this is going to be kind of bringing us a culmination point or illuminating something that relates to what was initiated at the eclipse that happened 2 weeks ago, the total solar eclipse I mentioned at the start in the sign of Sagittarius. However, it's going to illuminate it in a different area of our lives. And so it's kind of like switching gears here, where we did something in one area and it's impacting us in another, or there's something in another area that we're realizing we have to change in order to manifest our big goals and intentions that we set at the time of the solstice. If you were with me during the new moon, not the solstice, sorry, the the solar eclipse that we had in Sagittarius. So the solstice is another really important point where we were launching into something that we were manifesting, of course. That's what we talked about last week. But for the solar eclipse energy, for those of you who are with me when we did our new moon solar eclipse gathering on the 12th of December, where we set our intentions in the cosmic community. If you're not a member of the cosmic community, I highly recommend checking it out. The link is down in the description below. Not only do we gather each month to set our intentions for the moon, but there are a lot of exclusive videos and content and all sorts of things that you can tap into there. But those intentions that we set, those seeds that we planted, those energies that we set in motion around that time, there's something that we need to understand that's being illuminated by the full moon energy, although it is off kilter from the eclipses. And this is also a really important manifestation point, or a point of coming back into balance after that eclipse energy, with Venus coming into a conjunction with the South Node, which was the node that was activated in the Sagittarius eclipse. And so this is going to potentially, for some people, especially those who have strong alignments in the mutable signs, it will bring an important relationship or an important connection that you didn't otherwise have that you might need in order to further your goals or in order to carry out what fate has brought in for you, the direction that you're meant to move into in this lifetime based on that eclipse energy. And so we're going to be having fated connections, karmic relationships coming in this week, especially those types of relationships that feel deeply familiar because it's the South Node. And so these can be past life connections. And so you might meet someone this week and they might feel like strangely familiar, or you might feel strangely comfortable with these people as if you have already met them, even though you know that you haven't. That's kind of a South Node conjunction to Venus energy that you might come into, especially again, those of you who have stronger alignments with this energy. And those people are coming in to show you something, to help you to bring back a really important gift or talent from the past that you need to carry forward in order to move in the right direction, in order to let go of what needs to be let go of, so that way you can occupy that new path, so you can embark on that new journey. It's kind of still this period of clearing out to a certain extent, but definitely clearing out so you can embrace something new that's really something old, so something that feels comfortable and feels right to you. So that's a big part of this energy too. In addition to kind of the eclipsey stuff that's going on this week, or the karmic fated node stuff that's going on this week, we have a full moon in trine with Uranus. This is important for a couple of different reasons here. So as you can see in the chart that I pulled up, Uranus is starting to, or I should say Jupiter and Saturn are starting to come into a very tight square with Uranus in the sign of Taurus. This will come exact with Jupiter squaring Uranus in the middle of January, and this will also come exact in the middle of February with Saturn squaring Uranus. This is going to be a very heavy, very turbulent energy. Mars next week will come into the sign of Taurus and start conjuncting Uranus as well. So the Uranian energy that we're going to have after this week is going to be very disruptive, very frustrating, and very turbulent, at least for the next few weeks. That doesn't mean it's going to be terrible or, you're going to have an awful time. It just means that there's going to be some change coming up, and the change isn't going to come quite so easily. This week, though, it's like the change comes quite naturally. If you step out of your mind, if you step out of this energy of trying to overanalyze and understand everything on an intellectual level, that's that Mercury combust with the sun. You're not going to be able to understand it anyway right now to a certain extent. Because of that energy, you're going to have to look at things much more intuitively. And so Mercury is in a really nice sextile, or coming into a really nice sextile with Neptune. And so that's part of this energy too, which has to do with feeling things out, following your inner guidance, following your intuition, following the energy. And then we have this full moon, which is pulling us out or pulling us away from that mercurial energy and causing us to have to feel things out and understand things more intuitively and emotionally. If it feels good, if it feels right, if your intuition is telling you that this is the thing that you need to change, or this is the new direction you need to move into, or this is what you need to adjust in order to get to that new direction, then that's probably going to be the case. And so keep that in mind as we go through the forecast for all 12 signs. I just wanted to mention that. But I love the Uranus energy being really nicely aspected, because this is the chance for us to very easily and very harmoniously, it's a chance for us to make the changes that we need to make so we can set a good framework for the energy that's coming up in the next few weeks. Because if we don't do this now, if we don't start to make those small changes and adjustments, and if we don't do it in a very positive way, it's going to be even harder in the next few weeks, especially for those who have really strong influences in the fixed signs. And the fixed signs, for those who are not aware, are Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus. So that's that. So let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. But before we do, I do have a couple of very quick announcements for you. So for those of you who are not already aware, my cosmic community is now open, so you can join in on the conversations and the monthly gatherings that I mentioned before. Also, my 2021 forecast for all 12 signs are also now available. only exclusively for Cosmic Community members. You can find the link for that down in the description below. And speaking of the eclipses, I actually just announced our very first group webinar. I'm doing quarterly webinars with the Cosmic Community, and this first one is going to be all about eclipses and especially making predictions using the eclipses in astrology in your own chart. You can find the link to sign up down in the description below. I also just want to mention really quickly that my spring Electional Astrology Guide, the pre-order begins next Saturday on January 2nd. So I'll remind you of that next week for those who want to pre-order and be the first to receive your guide so you can start planning for the spring and making sure that you can be really successful in everything you want to accomplish in the spring. Because the spring energy, you guys, just to be honest, is going to be a lot easier than the winter energy. You can still do things and plan things for the winter, and my winter electional astrology guide is still there. And, that will help you to plan around the diciness and to utilize the best energies this winter. But spring is really where it's at this year. There's a lot of good energy this spring that won't be present the rest of the year. So I definitely highly recommend pre-ordering. And again, I'll remind you guys next week of that too. I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's coming. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. So there is my zodiac signs. All right. And so for Aries and for Aries rising, there's something being illuminated in the area of your home, your family, your property, your place of living. There's kind of a need to come back into balance from focusing so much of your energy and attention on externals and what's going on in your work, in your career, in your public standing, or with people in positions of power and authority. So there's kind of a shift in focus from being out there in the world to kind of coming back to your roots and focusing on your family, getting your house in order. There's something that's being illuminated that needs to be changed or shifted there in order to create a better financial foundation for your future related to your career. So it could be that you just need a better work-life balance. It could be that you need to start working from home, or you need to have a better setup for working from home, because I know a lot of people these days are doing that. And that's going to help you to create a better situation and much more freedom and much more liberation in your work and in your home experience. There is something that needs to change involving your financial situation to create greater financial freedom into the future. If you start to make those small changes now, while the energy is ripe for it and before the energy gets really dicey around those topics, then you're going to be ahead of the game and you're actually going to be setting yourself up for success. So when the bigger changes come in January and in February, it's not going to be as disruptive or as frustrating. So if you're thinking about making financial changes, especially related to career or especially related to your home and your place of living, now's the time to start to set those things in motion. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, this energy is happening in your 3rd and in your 9th house. And so you're having a full moon in the sign of Cancer in your 9th house, or in your 3rd house, which is the house of higher education, sorry. It's the house of education. This is where you need to focus your attention and energy on what feels right to you when it comes to the information coming in. You're going to be presented with a lot of new and exciting and innovative information this week that might contradict your old paradigm, that might contradict your old ways of thinking and believing and behaving and sharing information. And if that's the case, that's okay. Embrace it as long as it feels right, as long as your intuition is telling you that this is the right thing and this is the way to go, then that's the way to go. This could also be you shifting your focus from what's going on globally to what's going on locally. And that can be a big important change that you're making right now. It could also be a shift in focus from like travel all over the world or connecting with people in foreign countries to, again, focusing on your immediate environment, your immediate community. There could be something that comes up that's illuminated for you this week involving travel or involving vehicles that you need to change in order to create greater freedom for yourself on an individual level. This is about you creating independence and sovereignty through travel, through exploration, and especially through mental exploration too. So this could be an opportunity or something that's illuminated for you involving education or involving a learning opportunity or a teaching opportunity this week. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, or sorry, for Gemini and for Gemini rising. I'm all disoriented this week, you guys. I should see what's going on in my astrology. For Gemini, this full moon is happening in your second house, which is the house of money, finances, resources. This is where you need to stop focusing your attention and energy on external sources of income and focus on what you can do in your own life to create and save and utilize your own resources in the best possible way in order to, secure your financial future or achieve your financial goals. There might have been a lot of confusion or a lot of kind of energy and mental energy around your partner's finances or around paying off debts or around insurance payouts, taxes, issues pertaining to other people's money. It could also have been a lot of energy or a lot of attention being focused on, deeper issues and healing and psychological work and things that are non-physical, whereas now you're being brought back into the physical. There's something going on subconsciously that's disrupting your energy and causing you to want to change something on a physical level, especially involving your financial situation this week. If that's the case, make those adjustments now. And in general, if there's a disruption to your solitude, if there's a disruption to your spiritual practice, or if you're getting new information involving spirituality that's very outside of the box and very unusual, this is the time for you to start integrating that in a very positive way into your spiritual practice or into your mindset around things. Because, if you do that now, it's going to make things a little less strange and disruptive in the next couple of months. For Cancer and for Cancer rising. So the full moon is happening in your sign, Cancer. And so especially if you are a Cancer sun, moon, or rising, with your sun, moon, or rising sign anywhere from, let's say, 3 to 13 degrees in the sign of Cancer, you're going to be feeling this the most. And this is going to be a big time where you're going to be in the spotlight, where you're going to be illuminated. There might be a lot of changes that you want to make to your relationships, to your social interactions, and to yourself, right? So this is a time where you're thinking about making changes to your identity, the way that you show up in the world, your path, your purpose, your goals, your direction, your orientation. And part of this does involve getting in with the right crowd, finding the right connections, hooking up with the right relationships that can further your goals and that can help you to feel liberated and supported in all of your endeavors into the future. If you're thinking about branching out and connecting with a new group of people or forming a club or an organization or something along those lines, now's the time to start setting that in motion. The changes that you make now will come a lot more easily than the changes that might be kind of forced over the next few weeks, especially in January and into February. But this just might be a time where you're in the spotlight for some reason and all eyes are on you, especially when it comes to your friend group or your social circle. You might have a lot more phone calls, text messages, emails, interactions this week, and it could just be your time to shine. You're being illuminated. And so whatever it is that you want to accomplish, whatever it is that favors you, now's the time for you to make those changes, and especially with the support of a group. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leos, this energy is happening in your 12th house, which is the house of rest. It's the house of relaxation. It's the house of hiding away from the world. So with this full moon in your 12th house, which is the house of solitude, seclusion, spirituality, and honing in on your spiritual practices, this is a time where, the full moon, which is normally very externalizing, which is more about action and culmination and celebration, this is actually going to be a point where you're going to be feeling like turning inward and pulling away. You've been busy, busy, busy in the 6th house, working on all sorts of different things. I mean, there's been a lot of energy there, and this entire year has been a lot of hard work for you, Leo. And so now's a time where you're pulling away from that and you're focusing more of your energy on your inner world, on your creative expression, on your spiritual practices. This is a time for you to rest during this full moon, which is happening again on the 29th of December. This is also a time where there's something that you maybe need to change when it comes to your work. and your career path overall, in order to create more freedom, more sovereignty, better daily routines to lighten the load a little bit. And this time in rest and contemplation is going to help you to discover the change that you need to make, and maybe even start to make some of those small changes on a grassroots level or on like a smaller level this week. And if you do that, that's actually going to help you. So that way, when we have the more disruptive energies coming up over the next couple of months, you're all set, right? You have that foundation set, so it won't be quite so disruptive for you. Okay, and for Virgo rising. So for Virgos, this energy is happening. This is actually a nice one for you, Virgo. Everything's hitting your chart like so nicely. So you have a full moon in the sign of Cancer in your 11th house, which is the house of friends and social networks and group interactions and people that you surround yourself with by choice because you love them, and you want to be around them. And this is actually a really important full moon to help you to come back into balance through your relationships. This is a great week to connect with people that you care about. This is a great week to connect with people who you love on a one-on-one level or on a group level, even if that's virtually. This is the time to reach out to your networks. And this is the time when your networks will probably be reaching out to you anyway, or you're going to be in the spotlight within your social circle. This is impacting you quite nicely, especially if you're a Virgo sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 3 to 13 degrees. This Uranus energy in the ninth house too, there's been a big change that you've been starting to make in your belief systems, in the way that you view the world, your perspective on life, and you're gonna start integrating that this week. And that's something that's gonna be a little bit more of a struggle over the next couple of months. But if you start to do that now when it comes up for you, when you start to integrate these new concepts and align yourself with your integrity and change the way that you're engaging with other people, change the way that you're engaging with the world, that's going to set you off on a really good solid foundation for the future and for the progress that you're going to be making this entire year. So great time for socializing this week, great time for expanding your horizons and broadening your mind, broadening your perspective, and a great time for making any changes to your own personal development, your own personal life, making any changes in combination or with groups of people. I mean, this is a good week for Virgo, so I love it. I think you're going to have a nice time. All right. And then for Libra and for Libra rising, this is a culmination point in your 10th house of career and public reputation. This is a week where, you're going to be pulling yourself out of focusing on family situations or family drama. You're going to be focusing less on what's going on behind the scenes, and you're going to be pulling yourself out into the open and focusing on your career goals and plans. This is where you're going to be looking at the freedom that you want to create for yourself financially. Maybe there's somebody who you're accountable for financially, or maybe there's somebody who's financially accountable for you, and you want to have more sovereignty and freedom, and you want to create a better situation for your work so you can achieve that. Maybe there's a partnership financially that you want to change or adjust or to work with in a different way. This is a time that you might be able to actually set that in motion, and it's probably going to benefit you a lot more so than it will if you hesitate or wait until the start of the new year. This is a time to make investments in your future when it comes to your career and your big goals and plans. And this is a time for you to, again, align your career goals with your financial goals. That's going to be a big thing. But also there could be some sort of power and control issues going on behind the scenes that are preventing you from focusing on your career fully and completely. Now's the time where you can work on making those adjustments, breaking free, and accomplishing what it is that you came here to accomplish. For those who are Libra, sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 3 to 13 degrees, you're going to be feeling this the most, and it's going to feel more tense and more challenging. However, just know that later this year, and really this year in general, it's nothing like what you've experienced. This is kind of like you seeing the results or the culmination or something that needed to be illuminated after you've gone through all of this hard work and after you've really, put the time in. So that's what's going on for Libras. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this is another sign where this is hitting you actually very positively, especially because Scorpio rising, sun and moon people are going to have Uranus activated by Saturn and Jupiter in January and in February. So you're going to start feeling the tension. You're going to start feeling the frustration. You're going to start feeling like you're reaching your boiling point and you need to change everything about your life. And, before that happens this week, you actually have some really nice energy where it's giving you a sense of perspective. You're able able to step out of, your mind. You're able to step out from like the monkey mind where you're just thinking and ruminating and trying to figure everything out and trying to analyze everything, and to gain a higher perspective and to intuitively understand the direction that you need to move into and the changes that you need to make, especially on a personal level, but also an interpersonal level as well. This is a time where you need to make some changes and adjustments to your relationships, especially if you're a Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 3 to 13 degrees. You're going to be feeling this the most, and you're going to really want to get ahead of the game and set some things in motion when it comes to those contractual changes in agreements, changes in, negotiations and relationships in general. These are all things that you need to start thinking about this week. This could be an opportunity that comes for you involving travel, especially if it involves travel in partnership or in connection with somebody else. This could also be an opportunity that comes to you involving teaching or involving higher educational pursuits or involving taking on some sort of new educational pursuit in terms of like you furthering your education in some way. But you have to focus kind of on the bigger picture this week. If you get stuck in the details, you're not going to be able to make those changes that you need to make as fully and completely. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is the house of death, transformation, joint finances, debt, taxes, inheritance, other people's money, deep psychological issues, healing. And this is a time where you're going to be working on doing some healing. This is also a time where you're going to be coming back into balance between focusing on your income that you derive through your own hard work and your own efforts, and maybe your partner's income could increase, or a financial opportunity can come in from an outside source like an investment or a tax refund or inheritance of some kind or an insurance payout. There's an opportunity here, and if there's not an opportunity that's coming to you directly this week, there's something that's being illuminated that you need to address and take on, because that opportunity might come around later on. So it's showing you where opportunity can be had financially through partnership or through these sort of joint financial ventures, or through maybe taking out a loan or something like that that you really need. And that's actually going to help you to whatever's going on in the area of joint finances. That's going to help you when it comes to your day-to-day work habits and routines and your work situation in general, because there's a lot of frustration and a need for independence and a need for change in that area that's been building for a couple of years. It could be that your partner increases their resources, and then you're able to make some changes and have more freedom when it comes to your work. It could also be that you get an investment or you get money that allows you to funnel it into these like projects that give you more freedom when it comes to your work. This could also be showing you where you need to do some very powerful emotional or psychological healing in order to heal your body and make the changes that you want to make on a health level, because that's going to be a part of this energy too. And definitely looking to alternatives and not necessarily like mainstream information when it comes to health. If that is what you're going through right now, that's going to be more helpful for you because of that Uranus energy, which is thinking outside of the box. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in the sign of Cancer in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. And so your relationships this week are being illuminated. You've been focusing very much on what you need to do, what you need to accomplish. You've been really trying to think and plan and plot with that Mercury energy when it comes to your next course of action. And, it's not working, right? Like, you need to approach things intuitively, and you need somebody to bounce ideas off of right now. That could be a part of it too. This is also a really great week for romance and for connecting with your partner on an emotional level, but also on the level of excitement and shaking things up and doing new things together as a unit. That could be a really great energy right now. There could be issues pertaining to relationships that involve your children. And so that could be something where you need to make a change, and that shift is highlighted or illuminated this week. If you make that change now, it's not going to be as frustrating or disruptive in the next couple of months as it could be. So definitely pay attention to what your intuition is saying, what your gut is telling you, and also what your partner is telling you, or what your friends or your close relationships with those people are telling you, because they're there to support you this week. That's where you're going to find the emotional support, and that's where you're going to tap into your intuition a lot more completely. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon energy is happening in your sixth house, which is the house of health and work and daily routines. This is a week where, your health is going to be in the spotlight. You've been focusing a little bit more internally. You've probably been like cocooning yourself for a lot of Aquarius rising people and spending more time in solitude, rest, contemplation, seclusion by choice or by necessity. And now is a time where the need to come back out into the world and to do something on a sort of day-to-day mundane level is going to be illuminated. You might be a lot busier this week. You might be focusing on new health habits and creating new health routines. If that is the case, that's excellent. That's exactly what you should be doing. This is also a time to look at your productivity and to create better routines around your work and around everything that you do on a day-to-day basis to sustain your existence on a physical level when it comes to the bigger picture financially, physically, and also with your career. And there's something that you maybe need to change involving your home, your family, your property, your roots in order to get where you need to go when it comes to your health or when it comes to your career or your work. And so those are all things to focus on and to contemplate this week. And those are things that'll probably be illuminated anyway. But definitely, follow your gut and your intuition. Follow what feels right to you when it comes to those areas of life. All right. And then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon is happening in your fifth house, which is the house of fun, joy, things that you love to do. Pisces is another sign that's getting hit so positively by this full moon, especially if you're a Pisces sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 3 to 13 degrees. This is going to be impacting you in a very pleasant way. You have, first off, this full moon in your fifth house, which is the house of children. And so you might have been focusing more on your friends, your social networks, holiday, parties and gatherings online or in real life. And now is a time where you need to focus more on, your children if you have them and connecting with them, or focusing more on your passions, your hobbies, your interests, your pursuits of things that you love to do because you love to do them. This is about you shifting your focus from what's good for the group to what's good for you and what brings you joy this week. And that's going to be a big thing that's illuminated. A new hobby or a new passion could be illuminated this week. And you might decide that you want to embark on a learning journey where you're going to take some sort of course or certification or learn a new skill with that Uranus energy, and that's going to help you to feel much more free on a mental level. This is also potentially where you might want to take a short trip, like a day trip or something like that, to shake things up and get some more excitement into your life if that's something that's available to you right now. But if not, just like a mental journey, a short mental journey that'll shake things up and make you feel more excited. But there's something also here that you need to shift your mindset around. So this is illuminating what you're truly passionate about, what feels good to you, what you really connect with on that sort of visceral level. And doing so, connecting with those things, connecting with your joy is going to help to change your mindset around something where you've been really stuck, stagnant, where your brain has been stuck in a rut. You're going to be shaken out of that rut this week. And if you embrace that and start to learn the new things that you're being called to learn, even if they're very unusual, shocking, uncomfortable for you, if you start that journey now, you're going to benefit from that. Very much so, especially in the next couple of months when we have that Jupiter-Saturn alignment squaring Uranus very, very tightly, and that Mars activation. If you're getting your ducks in a row and you're starting to shift the way that you think about things and learn something new, you're going to be ahead of the game. So that's what's going on for Pisces there. And then that is my forecast for all 12 signs, you guys. Next week is where we start getting into some of the dicier energy. So we have a couple of different things going on here. So the big player next week, which is January 4th through January 10th, is actually going to be Mars moving into the sign of Taurus. As soon as Mars moves into Taurus, which happens on the 6th, on Wednesday, you're going to start to feel the intensity. You're going to start to feel things heat up. You're going to start to feel a collective frustration building out in the ethers, but also an individual frustration building with your current circumstances and with limitations and restrictions that are imposed upon your freedom, your sovereignty, your ability to do what you want to do because you want to do it because it feels right to you. That's going to be something that is going to be on all of our minds in a different way, depending on how this is showing up in your chart. So for some of you, it could have to do with the global implications of what's going on and how that feels very limiting or compressing or restraining. And for others, it could just be that the circumstances in your personal world that has nothing to do with externals are limiting you in some way, and you feel like you want to break away and change everything all at once. Do not change everything all at once. This is an impulsive energy, and because of the Saturn influence that's involved, you have to really take your time. You have to really weigh things out. You have to really make sure that you're not just throwing out all of your responsibilities to just do something that feels exciting and fresh in the moment, because the ramifications of that are going to be very long lasting, and it's going to take the entire year for you to resolve what it is that you created on a negative level because you did that. You might get the freedom you desire, but the ripple effect might not be so positive. So you want to consider that before you jump into something all crazy next week. And so that's going to be the big energy. Also, next week, Mercury at the end of the week on Saturday is going to be coming into a conjunction with Saturn. It's also going to be hitting, Jupiter. Let's see here. Yeah, it's going to be hitting Jupiter shortly after that. And so that's also going to be highlighting the Jupiter-Saturn square to Uranus in Taurus. So it's being highlighted on both ends, and things start to get really intense toward the end of this week. And it'll be the following week even more intense. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more next week. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so that way you never miss an important astrology update. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and make sure you share it with your friends if you feel like they can benefit from the information that we shared this week. And I have 2 more videos up here discussing the energies of the times that we're in so you can be prepared